Next, we're going to see the mysterious of this story, truth behind the death of Wang Jian, the interesting of the different parties involved in this case, the government, the intelligence. They're closely related to each other. We see the relation of Wang Jian with the United States, his social relationship here. This is the photos in an investigation report by the New York Times. In all the 67 acquisitions we have just mentioned, they're related largely to assets of the U.S., investments in the U.S., interests of the U.S., interests of Europe, and the interests of the other countries in the world. Wang Jian's family lives in Seattle. The property is listed here, only part of his residence in the U.S. The body of the Wang Jian was also buried in Seattle. We have a picture of his graveyard here. Wang Jian's wife and children are all U.S. citizens. He, himself, holding a U.S. green card. All that has happened to Wang Jian has something to do with the U.S. or Europe. They relate to the interests of the U.S. After consulting our legal team and other parties, we think that the U.S. government should take part in related investigation, as those investigations that are supported by U.S. law. We have officially launched our application to the FBI for their interference into the related investigations. Next, we're going to see the legal actions taken against those individuals related to the death of Wang Jian. This will provide a good and important answer to our questions. What on earth is the truth behind Wang Jian's death? The truth behind his death is important to all of us. Without alert to this, every one of us could become the next Wang Jian, could see the tragedies like the one with HNA happening in the U.S., one after another one. I'm going to tell you what steps we're going to take and why I'm standing here today. Dear friends, Wang Jian and the HNA group is not an isolated case. Wu Xiaohui of the Anbang Group, Ye Jianming, Jack Ma, Xiao Jianhua of Tomorrow Holdings, thousands of Chinese entrepreneurs may become the next Wang Jian or the business's next HNA. Our question is this. All that has happened in the U.S. about Wang Jian, are they legally questionable? Have they caused losses to U.S. interest? Has HNA represented the interest of the CCP in U.S. land? Has its intelligence network here caused any threats to U.S. homeland security? If we're not awakened to the truth behind the death of Wang Jian, any one of us could become the next Wang Jian. This is why I am making an appeal here today for thousands, if not millions of the victims in China who have been caught, put into the prison, or persecuted by the CCP. I want to review the truth so that they can be treated with equal rights by the rule of law. I am making this call here in the U.S., striving for their justice in front of the law to protect the safety of their families and their properties. I have already provided evidence to prove that HNA Group, representing the CCP in China, is an intelligence platform in the West working for CCP, a platform for the money laundering, and also a platform for ideological disseminations by way of BGY. Next, we're going to bring about lawsuits against the HNA and take all the necessary legal actions against it. If we don't do this, similar tragedies will happen in the West. This is why I'm standing here today, to fight for the rights, for our rights, for the rights and the interests of the children and the grandchildren of 1.4 billion Chinese, and for the safety of every one of us present here today. This is also the reason for my anger. Next, you will see what we can learn from the HNA case and what actions we're going to take in the near future. Immediately, we're setting up a $100 million fund called the China Foundation of the Legal Affairs. I hope Mr. Stephen Bannon will be the chairman of this foundation, aiming at helping and saving all the Chinese who are undergoing CCP executions, unfair treatments by the legal systems, or so-called anti-corruption campaign, or cruel governance by police. They deserve no less of the equal rights, fairness, and the freedom. HNA Group has called for compromises with me regarding to their lawsuit and false accusations against me, but was refused. Instead, to counter the false accusations, I shall take the immediate actions to bring them to courts in the U.S. In addition, we will bring about the legal actions against those U.S. companies that have illegal transactions with HNA Group, and those individuals, including Wang and other Chinese officials, with the court issuance of the subpoenas to bring them to justice. We shall waste no time to submit application to the FBI for their participation of the relative investigations. From today on, we will let the whole world know about the dissemination and the threats of the CCP in the West. Our foundation will be ready to offer assistance to those who were made disappeared, executed, arrested, or forced into the mysterious death like Mr. Wang Jian, to review the truth of all these tragedies. These are the major actions we're going to take very soon. You can see, after they interrupted the interviews on April 19, 2017, HNA Group took the lawsuit or false accusations against me. As a measure to counter the accusations, I put up 17 pages of documents for their review. HNA Group did not provide any feedback. If Wang Jian had given me a feedback, he would not have died in France, allegedly from fall while taking photos. Next, you will see that we will issue our subpoenas to the following U.S. companies connected to the HNA and their beneficiaries, including Wang Qishan. This will make history. In the past week, Mr. Bannon and I, together with our legal team, had a lot of the discussion to give a proper name to the campaign against the evils, whose name have been pounded over and over again in our minds. After countless correctness and alternations, we have the final list of the name up here. This is the first time in Chinese history since the founding of the Republic by the CCP that we stand at a stage in the U.S. to counter the CCP. This is the first time there is Chinese men standing here fighting for the freedom, democracies, and the rule of the law for the Chinese people. I am the first Chinese openly to use legal actions to make a good use of the U.S. systems of the freedom and the rule of the law, to fight the CCP totalitarian regime. I am the first man on this stage of freedom in New York, where I stand up to fight for safety, religious beliefs, and a future with the rule of law for the Chinese. To those people listed here, we will issue a court notice for investigations. The names we have listed here today are all very sensitive names. What follows the HNA Group would be frightening, worthy of your attention. After all these, I must also add, my dear friends and attendees, the reason why I can stand here today is because the U.S. have wise people like Mr. Stephen Bannon, because there are journalists and medias like you and my warrior friends who have given me support. Please thank me, Milesguo. If I was in another country, I must be doomed by now. I would either be cut into pieces or made into sausages, labeled with my surname Guo. The Chinese friends here, you should never have an opportunity to take part in today's press conference, because the CCP of China has been successful for all the 70 years. Its threats, its BGY, and its recklessness have forced us to lose our safety and dignity, and lose our freedom to speak out. We have been thankful to the U.S. and the U.S. government, thankful to the Western media, who have joined us to seek the truth behind the facts, who have stood up for the justice. The threats by China's CCP are far beyond my descriptions here today. We will prove that the world with our actions that CCP is the biggest tumor in the world. CCP is the greatest threat to all humanities as long as it survives in China, even a single day. Your participation has given me courage, which encouraged me to continue fighting. In my hometown, there is an old saying, one thing is closely linked to another. I will prove to the world with actions. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. The Voice of Go Media.